What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video, and today we're going to take a look at loose, complete, ungraded, vintage Star Wars figures, and as you can tell by this thumbnail, we even got some bootlegs, at least one, that sold. I really wanted it. I've got some really great items here, including a reseal of a Lili Ledy that went for really cheap. I wish I had seen it to make you guys aware of it. Let's go ahead and dig right in. First, we've got a Blue Snags. How beautiful was this one? Now, it did have the famous torso discoloration that we talk about all the time. It's very faint on this one. Look how clean the belt buckle was. The boots, just in incredible shape. This is the toe dent version, which is the more common, supposedly, of the two. There's a no toe dent and then a toe dent. This one's the toe dent. And it was very clean. I'm guessing this one would grade out at about an 80 plus. But extremely clean version. And this one was for sale at auction. Sold for $541.55, which to me seems like a great deal. And I don't know if that weapon is the correct weapon or not. I have to go back and look at mine. This one's got the blue DL44 blaster. I can't remember if he comes with the blue or the black, but that just shows you how bad my memory is. But this one was a really nice example for $541, given what they go for loose graded. You're talking like probably 700-ish for an 80 plus, if not more. 85s I've seen very regularly sell in auctions for over $1,000. So that one is a figure that's this one and Luke Stormtrooper that we'll cover a little bit later on. Those two particular figures, I think if you can live with a little bit of grading risk, you're going to do a lot better buying them loose and ungraded versus buying one already graded. So as long as you can live with, okay, if I get an 80 or an 80 plus versus an 85, then I think the way to go is to get one that's loose and ungraded versus one that's already graded, because the price disparity between a loose graded and a loose ungraded is just so high, at least right now. Here's a Droids R2-D2, Droid Factory R2-D2. This one obviously had some condition issues with the sticker, which is very common since they were applied by whoever bought it. And they do peel a lot, as you can see, or they can be applied kind of incorrectly. This one, it's got some peeling going on the sticker. That one sold over in Europe for 268 euros, which is 290 US dollars. I think given the condition of it, though, it's actually in pretty decent shape, probably like 75 grade condition. And about $300 seems to be the going rate for one of these in about this condition. So there you go on that one. Next up, I do have one or two. This might be the only vehicle that I included, but look how beautiful this example of the TIE, Imperial TIE Fighter is. Really clean condition. Slight yellowing to the wings. The actual fuselage is in pretty good shape. The canopy's got a little bit of yellowing to it as well, but it was advertised as working electronics, and it also did include the box. That one did sell for $250, which is kind of right in line with market on that one. Here is that reseal Yoda Lili Ledy. So again, this is not mint on card. This has been resealed, pretty nicely resealed though. But the card back itself for Yoda usually goes for about this price. You're getting a Regresso Lili Ledy Yoda complete, plus the card back, plus the blister, for $407 is what this one sold for down in California. And here's the back of it. This is the positive card back for Yoda. But again, it's a reseal. This is the kind of item that you could send to collector archive services, get the blister support, and they'll archive it or loose grade the figure with the card back and the blister, add some blister support for probably about $100 to do that. And it will kind of display like a mint on card Lili Ledy. So it's a really nice cost-effective way to do it. You can see where the card back has been kind of repaired with probably a second, another card back that was an even tattier shape. They kind of patched it together to make it look like a mint on card. So to me, $407 is a really good deal. I mean, that's a price I'd pay in a heartbeat. And again, you got to know what it is, right? A true mint on card for one of these. We saw one sell last year that was low grade AFA that sold for, I can't remember the number. It was like $3 or $4 grand, big number. But again, a very cost-effective way to do it. Or you can just get a loose, complete Lili Ledy with the card back, no blister, and then send it into CAS. That's what I did for a number of mine in my collection. But this is a kind of a step up since it includes the original blister as well. So $407 plus $50 shipping, that's a really good deal, given that that's about what a near mint minus condition Regresso Lili Ledy sells for by itself without the card back or the blister. Next up, I've got some cut cards that this seller had, and I wanted this one because I don't have the X-Wing fighter, but this one just went too high. This one sold for $182.50, although obviously the X-Wing is in mint condition. It's attached to the card still, but cut cards are not really my thing. I don't really believe in opening one that's already still attached and inside to get a loose mint one. But that's just too much money for me. But some people do collect cut cards, and they like to have those kind of archived or just collect them as is. But they had some other beauties here. This was the Death Star droid. That one sold for $133. This is the Ugnaught with the blue smock. I still don't have one with a true blue smock. I need to get one of those. That one sold for $96. The Death Star droid, $133. And again, the X-Wing sold for $182.50. Here was an orange cape squid head. Again, we've talked about how collectors like these degraded brown cape squid heads that have degraded so uniformly. And it's just something that collectors really dig. And so it almost turns like an orange color. This one's not quite as bright orange as some others I've seen, but they do go for big money. And so I sent this one out to my Patreon supporters, and I said, hey, look, it's not my thing, but this is about what they go for if you have one that's kind of nicely degraded in a uniform fashion. Sometimes they get kind of splotchy with how they degrade. This one did not. It was in really clean shape, and it did sell for $220. And again, that's what they go for. I mean, that's just kind of a variant, so to speak, that people really like is these degraded brown cape squid heads that turn like an orange color. And this is probably the third or fourth one I've seen over the last 6 months, and they all sell for $200 to $250. So I just wanted to show that because people do like that one. Here was a Polish bootleg. This was a first generation Polish bootleg AT-AT driver, and very nice looking condition. And the chest apparatus is where you usually see the most wear on the paint. And this one has kind of a translucent plastic that was used for the torso. And they all use the same, most of them anyway, they use the same Biker Scout limbs, legs and arms. So this is an earlier version of the AT-AT driver. And there's also a kind of a 1990s second generation, early 1990s. And then the third generation is the most common, which came out in the 1995 range. But this one did sell for $245 over in Poland. This is a trusted seller, by the way. I bought from this seller many times over the years for really nice condition Polish bootlegs. But that AT-AT driver did sell for $245 plus $10 shipping. Here was another one. This was a really good deal. I would have sent this one out if I had seen it. But this is a third generation Hoth Rebel Trooper Polish bootleg. So again, these came out in 1995-ish. And those tend to stay in really good condition because they were a later generation towards the end of when the Polish bootlegs were being made, 1995 range. And it had one little scratch on his face, but it was listed for $40 and it sold for $35. So really good deal on that one. This is one I do have in my collection, but a steal of a deal, $35 for a Polish bootleg. It's just, I'm not saying that it's the rarest thing in the world or anything, but it's just a nice piece of collecting history because in Poland, in the 1980s, the Cold War was going on and there was kind of an embargo on U.S. imports. So they couldn't get the license figures over there. So what did Polish people do? They used their ingenuity and they created their own Star Wars toys for children in the 1980s and into the 1990s. And it's just kind of a cool piece of collecting history to get some of these bootlegs. And just very wacky colors, some of them. This one's a little bit more uniform and kind of in keeping with the Kenner colors, but there were some really wacky colors for some of those that I've showed in my collection over the years. But that one was a good deal for $35. Some last 17 figures. We've got a Ramba in really nice shape. That one sold for $175. Next up was Warwick. This one had maybe just some very slight discoloration to the torso, which does happen with Warwick. You can see there. It's very faint on this one. I've got one mint on card Tri-Logo that has that same issue. I'm sorry, mine's a Lumat, but it's the same issue as this Warwick, that torso discolors. It might just be shadows on this one, but it looks to me, at least on the left-hand side of the torso, that there's some yellowing going on, but it's very faint. That one sold for $285. I think it was complete with the bow and the quiver. Next up was a General Orlando in very good shape. It did have some feet rub, so you got to be careful about, you know, really zooming in on this one. I thought it was mint when I included it as part of this video, but now that I look at it again, it does have some feet rub. So, you know, at a first glance, it looks super clean, but this one did sell for 150 pounds, which is $190. So that's a little bit below fair market value for one that's in a little bit better shape. But this is probably like 75 grade at best with those feet rubbed. But, you know, a near mint one probably sets you back 200 to 225, complete with the correct Palace blaster. But that one did sell for 150 pounds, 190 US dollars. To me, pay up a little bit more, pay up the extra 25 bucks to 30 bucks or so and get one without any rubs. But I'm not really good at discerning condition for last 17 figures just because I don't have many of them. I don't have many of them in my collection. So, you know, if you're looking for really good last 17 figures, I encourage you to go to Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. Chris and Charles and Shane and all those guys, Brandon, they always get last 17 figures in nice condition, in various condition, but, you know, they're always really good about grading them because they know them a lot better than I do. So make sure to join Rogue 5 Toys on Facebook. I think I usually put in every video description a link to the Facebook page. Now, we've had some people try to join the page without filling out the questionnaire. It's a very simple questionnaire. It's like fill in the blank, star blank. I think you guys can figure that out. But you got to make sure to fill out the questions because we do get a lot of scammers that try to join, and we try to keep those people out. So fill out the questionnaire, and that way we know you're a real person and not someone who's trying to sneak in to kind of cause trouble, cause mayhem. So anyway, that one was not nearly as clean as some of the examples I've seen for the same price or less on Rogue 5 Toys. Next up, this Monomon did look very clean. This thing was listed as pristine mint off card, and it did look really clean. Maybe a couple of specks on the back of the head there. You can see right there, there's a little speck there and right there. But overall, pretty clean condition. I mean, those are the kind of defects that you can find that were just because of rubbing inside the blister. But very nice one. This one probably grades out at about an 80 plus is my guess. That one sold. This is a Monomon. I should have said his name. That one sold for $255 on 48 bids. Here was a yak face. Again, this one was not perfect, but it was listed for 490 US dollars. It sold for 465, but it did have some defects if memory serves when I was looking at it. Maybe on this side here. Yeah, you can see some rubs on the shoulder right there. Just a couple of small rubs. Those could be shadows, but I think that those are paint rubs on him. But given how expensive yak face is, this one was in pretty good condition. Probably grades out at about an 80 or an 80 plus. But a nice looking yak face complete with the vibro blade. That one again sold for $465 in a make an offer situation. EV99, again, it's hard to tell exactly how clean it is, but obviously the feet can get warped like that, but it was advertised as not broken, and in general it looks like in really nice condition. That one sold for $330 US dollars plus $5 shipping. I've got a couple of different last 17 Luke Skywalker and Stormtrooper disguise that sold. This one obviously had some yellowing to the limbs, which does happen pretty often, but this one was complete with what looked like the correct black Imperial blaster. That one sold for $400 plus $980 shipping. This one was another sale by Wheeljack's Lab. Again, very slight, it looks to me anyway, like very slight yellowing to the limbs. So this is probably a little bit higher grade than the last one that just sold. Maybe not though, because it does have some rub on the hair that he tried to kind of not show as much. But I think this one's probably a 75 plus, maybe an 80, somewhere in that ballpark. That one sold for $441. And then here was another one that did sell from the same seller as the Monomon. It was advertised as mint off card back. I don't know about that, but it was in pretty good shape. Just very slight issues on the arms there. You can see some scuffing. A lot of those can maybe come off with some cleaning. It's hard to say, but I don't think this one was mint off card back, but it was in pretty good shape. And it looks to me, again, that it has the correct blaster, black Imperial Blaster. So the hair and the face on this one was in really good shape. This one's probably, again, about an 80 plus. That one sold for $505. So again, if you can live with a little bit of risk on the grading, and you don't have to have an exactly perfect figure, but you do want to get one loose graded for your collection, then, you know, maybe try finding one loose and ungraded. Here are some Droids figures. We've got Kia Mall. This one sold for $125. There was an issue on the back of the leg on that one. So again, it's very tricky to find some of these figures for last 17 in Droids that don't have defects. But this one is Thal Joba, and this one looked to be in a little bit better condition, and that one sold for $140. And Tig Fromm and Seiss Fromm also sold here recently. This one was complete with his little 2-1 staff, as well as the coin. So very, very desirable variant here. This one usually gets rubs on the back of the leg, and you can see a little bit right there. This one had some issues maybe on the back of the legs there. That one still sold for $510, but that's one thing to look out for. It seems like with Tig Fromm, there's always issues on the back of the hamstring or on the back of the calf, and you can see this one has those issues very clearly. Back of the heel as well on this one. This one's probably about an 80 grade at best, but still a very nice figure and a very expensive figure. $510 in an auction on that one. And then I had two different Seiss Fromms that sold. This one sold in an auction. It looked to be super clean. Again, it's got the robe on, so I don't know for sure, but it did include the very hard to find coin as well. And again, I call this one my Chris W. Rogue 5 Toys variant, because it looks a lot like Chris W. When he's very angry. And this one sold for $822 on 14 bids. And then another one did sell. This one was listed for $1,100 and sold in a make an offer situation for $800. So $800 and $822. So that gives you a pretty nice tight price range for a figure that continues to command a lot of money on the secondary market. Loose graded, you know, it seems like now loose graded 80s and 85s, they're over $1,000 now, where it used to be about $700 a year and a half ago. So they've really, really gone up in price. Blue Snags, Luke Last 17, Seiss Fromm, Tig Fromm, you got to pay big money for them right now. Those are probably the figures that, despite maybe a slowdown, generally speaking, in Star Wars collectibles, those continue to command big, big prices. Nothing new there, you know, not exactly brain science, you know, brain surgery or rocket science. But those figures in particular, I've noticed, continue to command a lot of money on the secondary market. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent loose, complete, ungraded figures from the vintage Star Wars line. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back very soon